Hi, Carmen.
Hi, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I was hoping I got the right link. Looks like
we were hoping you were getting the right link. Let's see. Yep. I'm expecting Fred and Todd and the rest of the BPAC, and maybe Laura Smith. I noticed one of the restaurants that I get takeout food from is now open for indoor dining.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten my vaccine yet, though. How about you? Have you been able to?
I'd gotten one.
Have you? Good.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah. Because I see that I have Kaiser, so I went there and I see there some of the groups are for government, and there's a lot of people that can get it, but I don't qualify yet. Retired, Soon, I hope.
You mean you didn't tell them, but being on the BPAC was an essential job?
There you go. No, I didn't go that far.
Hello, Mark.
Hey, Matthew.
Does anybody know if Fred got sent the invitation from Cecil, or did he just get the link on the meeting invitation? Because I logged on with that one first, and it only logs you in as a attendee, not a panelist.
I don't know. He is aware of the meeting.
Yep.
He sent me a message that he might be late, but he thinks he'll get
Okay.
it on time. Meanwhile,
I think he is. I see him logging in. I see an FH. I'm going to assume that's Fred.
Fire hydrant.
Yeah, or a fire hydrant.
Okay. I'm going to take roll. Let's see.
Fire hydrant reporting.
Yo, oh, you heard that? I should have muted myself.
I see the recording message in the upper left, and
yes,
that's what I say. So Laura, we're just waiting for David. Oh, Joanna.
Okay, can somebody hear me now?
Bart?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
I've been watching you for a while, but I didn't have the little symbols to unmute myself or turn on my video were not visible. I don't know what happened. Now they seem to be working.
Yep, you made it.
We do need to sort out this business with those different links.
Yeah.
Like, because I had more than one email. I had also whatever, Google Mail, Google Calendar link. But they need to say on them, this link is for people just to watch it. This link is for panel members or something like that. So that I don't have to try 3 of them to find the right one. maybe we can,
I can let Cecil, but I let Cecil know you were a panelist.
yes.
So you
Yeah, but
got,
the thing is, I also get the other notices. And then I'm trying to read the fine print of the different emails to try to figure out which one is the one for the panelists.
Sorry, I sent you all a meeting invitation just to know who was going to be attending.
oh, maybe that's what happened.
And by the way, I don't remember David responding. I'll tell you what. why
I
don't
think
we-
the general, the general rule that we're following on this is that you'll get an email, a specific email from somebody in our IT department. In this case, it was from Cecil Lawson, our IT manager. And
Okay,
he will
that's how
send
the,
everybody a unique link if they are
Right.
a panelist.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm actually online. I was
Hi,
taking
Cecil.
another call from work. Hey, Todd. But yeah, that's how it works. It would have a header on it from the city, and what it is a special permission to use your camera. Anyone else would be an attendee, and they can just simply listen in and on occasion talk if granted access. So it's a very unique email that you will receive with sort of a city header in it. That's the difference between the two.
yes, I see one from you that has a nice photographic kind of thing with the city
Yeah,
of Campbell on it. Yeah,
That's
Okay.
the one.
that's the one.
Right.
All right. Okay. Well, I tried all the other ones first.
So,
Yeah,
so-
I tried the wrong one first too, I have to admit.
We'll have to.
Uh-oh, it might have been because I sent an email meeting invitation that had a Zoom link.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, I tried that one
I
first,
think the
yeah.
link that you put in was for the general public to attend.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Well, don't do that again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Right. Okay.
I-
That's good. It worked anyway eventually.
Oh, by the time we figure all this out, we'll be back to in person, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Actually, probably not, but maybe.
But I tell you what, I will get started. Fred is here. Oh, you are there. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Agenda item number 2 is actually a mistake. We did that last meeting. So we don't have to introduce Matt and Mark again. Meeting minutes. I don't know if you had a chance to look at meeting minutes. I like to look myself at the action items just to make sure that we follow through and things. And we did take a look at the Harriet Avenue signs. We found one sign that was somewhat blocked by vegetation, but ahead of it is a sign that says speed humps ahead. So one way or another, folks should know that there are speed humps.
Are you getting a lot of feedback from the public on those?
Really not. They've been in for quite a while, but I have, let's say, immediately after they were installed, the public was pretty happy. There was a noticeable drop in speed. And we were following through on, there was some kind of bump on the creek trail. So we passed that along the county parks. Then pavement arrows. We did follow up on, Bart, you mentioned that maybe at Campbell Avenue and Railway, where we have the bike box,
Right.
we should have the pavement arrows on the upstream end of the block ahead so that people know that the right-hand lane is for right turns only. So
Yes.
we'll get into that.
Right. Okay.
A little bit of a photo slideshow. Bart, last meeting, you mentioned something about a sign you saw in Saratoga.
Yeah, I was gonna, next time I cycle past it, I was gonna take a picture, but I haven't passed it yet. But
No problem. We
it's
have
pretty straightforward. It's just a little sign that says, I'll get it for you. But, they have a couple there where they have there is a bike lane. It's fairly narrow, and but there's also a sidewalk, and the sidewalk is kind of elevated. Because the sort of there's the ground goes up to the right of the road, or as you were on that side, right? So there's a sign that says pedestrians this way, bicycles that way. I'll
Okay,
make a point of getting a picture of it. Maybe tomorrow.
there are a couple of action items that we'll address later in the meeting, 1700 Dell and the commissioner collaborative. But the last one, I did share the links regarding Caltrans District 4 pedestrian plan and the bike highway study website. So does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes from last time?
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Approved. Item number 4, ongoing projects. Aha. Has anyone been near Campbell downtown lately? All right. I will share my screen. What do you see right now?
Campbell Railway Bike Box Project 19FF.
Great. This is an update on that project. This is our first project, downtown pedestrian improvements. It has 2 components. The first component is Campbell Railway Bike Box, and this is what we'll show you. I think most people know what a bike box is, but it's to allow bicyclists to bypass the queue and get in front of traffic if they want to go straight through and not get clipped by the so-called right hook movement of cars. And here's some of the reasons why we're using a bike box at Campbell and Railway. Really for safety and visibility. So we got this idea of putting a bike box at Campbell Railway. It was part of a study. We called it a Campbell PDA, well, Transportation Improvement Plan for the Campbell Priority Development Area. It's quite a mouthful, but if you take TIP and take the C, tipsy. So one of the concepts shows a bike box at this intersection of Campbell Railway and having sharrows going through. The feedback we got from when we were doing this study was that it was difficult for folks who were headed westbound on Campbell Avenue to remain on Campbell Avenue. And so the consultant for this project prepared this concept. We went along with this portion, the green bike lane leading to the bike box. However, the green-backed sharrows, we decided to just keep them as regular sharrows because green-backed sharrows, the sharrows with the green background, is what they call an experimental device. It isn't yet approved for use on the public street. And rather than having to go through all the hoops of applying for the permission to do a study to see how these things work, we went with regular sharrows. So now, what does it look like when you're headed eastbound and you're crossing the railroad tracks? You see the sharrows are there now. And then continuing east, you see the sharrows. It's going to be pretty much in the eastbound direction, sharrows all the way to Campbell Park and Poplar Avenue. And then the bike lanes begin. In the westbound direction, from Poplar Avenue, you have sharrows. This is the intersection at Campbell and Gilman, where the Campbell Park is located. So that's the signal, Campbell and Gilman. Continuing with sharrows, here's the sign that we were talking about at the last meeting. And it shows then this left-hand lane is for through, a left turn or right turn. This right-hand lane is right turn only. And here's the green bike lane that leads to the bike box. And we put this sign in, even though it's only a block long. I just feel like this makes it clear that this lane is a bike lane. And kind of nice too, the alignment just kind of flows right into the bike lane. And that's it. So if you haven't been out there, this is what it looks like now. There actually is a bike box at Campbell and Railway. Are there any questions?
No, I was out there yesterday, part of my walking route, and it looks great. I like the bike boxes not only for cyclists but for pedestrians because it pulls the cars back away from the crosswalks too, so there's more separation there. But unrelated to this, I'm just curious why there's no bike lane going in between what is it, Gilman in the bridge, just in front of the basketball courts there. Is it not wide enough to put like a striped lane in there, or what's the rationale?
Yeah, we about a year ago we had a project that was going to examine what option to take. There were 3 different facilities, let's say, that needed to be juggled or considered. Having a bike lane, eliminating the median left turn lane, or eliminating or adding on-street parking. So there's a limited curb to curb width, limited right of way too, and you can't fit all 3 types of facilities: parking, bike lane, and the median left turn lane that you have at Gilman and at Dillon. That's unfortunately that project got canceled. What we did was we implemented in the interim these measures. We would have to have more right of way to fit in, I believe, bike lanes, and or we would have to eliminate the left turn lane. And because there's at least one development that from which we would need right of way anyway, and that's that medical office development. It's called Graylands, but it's on the north side of Campbell Avenue between Poplar and Page Street, that area, that we decided not to do anything. If you look, let me scroll back to with the bike box, everything in here pretty much conforms by the time you get the foot. But when you get to this area, it gets a little, you really have to make a decision. Either you get rid of on-street parking or you get rid of the median turn lane, or you can fit in order to fit in a bike lane. Eventually, we're going to have to make a decision though.
Yeah. Is there anything you can do just on the south side right now before you have to consider removing parking? Just to like add a straight bike lane in front of, on the park side at least. That area, like that little kind of stretch where there's no bike lane before you get to the bridge, it's just so dicey. And I know a lot of people don't like to ride that stretch and will actually go through the park and underneath in order to avoid that segment. So maybe not adding bike lanes on the north side, but on the south side, I feel like there would be a huge benefit to it.
Okay, there's also one other item. It kind of gets cut off with this aerial photo. There is a development on this corner. It used to be like an auto parts place called Paul Del Grande property, whatever it is. It's going to be replaced with a mixed-use development commercial on the bottom floor and condos above. And there's going to be on-street parking on the south side, albeit the curb line should stay about the same, and then the parking will go south of the curb line. I'm not sure if it's enough. There's enough width to fit in a bike lane. Okay, I can double check. In fact, I'll just write that down as a to-do item, is to check the width.
Excuse me, Matthew, you're talking about, so it's the intersection of Campbell and Gilman?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna open up Google Earth so we can see more of what we're describing.
Yeah, I'm actually referring to the area directly in front of the park, like where the basketball courts are.
Yeah,
Like
if I
that.
can jump in too, one of the main constraints that you pointed out really is overall right of way, along that stretch. And one of the big bottleneck there is the bridge that goes over the creek. That bridge is it 50 years old or whenever it was built? And so we widened it some time ago and made a little bit of room, but still not quite enough. Yeah, so between the park, Gilman, and the bridge itself is really the physical constraint is.
I guess I just don't understand why the bridge can be striped, but then that striping ends or the striping begins once you get onto the bridge as you travel east. So you'll bike in front of the park, and then all of a sudden you'll have a bike lane appear. But for that section in between Gilman and the bridge, there's nothing there. I almost feel like you could just extend the striping that's on the bridge to Gilman.
Okay. Before I measure on the street, this is the development I was talking about, the Graylands property. So it's the northwest corner of Campbell Poplar. But I guess your concern is this stretch leading to Campbell Park.
Yeah, even just that stretch where the trees are in front of the basketball courts. So less so in front of that future mixed-use development, but what's directly in front of the park itself. Yeah.
Okay. .24 feet. Let's see, 5 feet.
As Matthew is measuring this, we should also probably point out to you that frontage directly in front of the park there. I mean, I understand. I think I understand what you're getting at. The difference is that intersection essentially has a fifth lane, which is the left turn pocket to go from westbound Campbell Avenue onto Gilman. So you're essentially taking up 5 lanes of traffic there at the intersection, whereas closer to the bridge, you don't have a full 5 lanes. You're back down to your 4 travel lanes. So squeezing in that left turn pocket is what creates more of a constraint on the edges. It kind of pushes everything out a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. I understand what Matt's saying. He's concerned about the eastbound direction. It's approximately 24 feet. Suppose you could have 2 10-foot lanes, then you really need 5 feet for a bike lane. So it's just, we're looking for 1 more foot. And
How wide is the turn pocket?
hang on a second.
Yeah.
Oops. We also have to make room so that we don't run into the raised median island. So let's see how wide this is. Yes, it's if it is 11 feet, we could possibly narrow it to 10 feet. I tell you what, we'll explore that after the meeting, because I'm thinking, Todd, why are you laughing?
I'm laughing as you're trying to measure under the tree canopies there.
No. I wasn't
can't get to it.
No, I wasn't trying to do that. I was just thinking I was thinking about if there's some way, if it can be squeezed in, can we have the street improvement plans reflect that bike lane? And then that way it can get installed as part of this mixed-use development.
Yeah, I think that's something that we need to explore, is because, you know, as part of that project going in that Matthew talked about on the Del Grand property, there the Page Campbell Avenue leg is also going to be signalized and will be part of the Gilman intersection. I mean, so it'll essentially become an offset signalized intersection. And perhaps when we do that, we can do some lane realignment to that portion to the east of Gilman that might be able to grab us that extra foot or two that we need to maybe have the bike lane begin at the intersection rather than at the bridge. Because I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
If I'm understanding the concern correctly.
Yeah, I think there'd be immense value in adding just striping right there.
Sure.
Like, there doesn't need to be any from Railway to Gilman, like Cheryl's are sufficient there. But I think striping from Gilman to the bridge would be really beneficial.
That'd be a good place to pick up the bike lane, right? I
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah, especially if we're gonna have the bike path exit up there from the park.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is helpful. I have an idea of we might add to item number 5, but let's hold off on that. Item 4B. Well, actually, let me just introduce for now. I'll stop sharing. The other component of the downtown pedestrian improvements on your agenda, it shows up as RRFB. That means rectangular rapid flashing beacon systems. It's the kind of, it looks almost like a strobe light. And we have one installed at the intersection of Campbell and Milton near the community center. So I don't know if you're familiar with what it looks like, but the plan is to install such a beacon system at 2 intersections in the downtown to be used at a marked crosswalk that isn't controlled by a stop sign or traffic signal. One intersection is Orchard City and 2nd Street. The other is Civic Center Drive and 2nd Street. Those intersections have, each of them have their challenges, and I'll show you. Oh, let me share. Scrolling over to the 2 intersections I mentioned. So this is City Hall. The intersection is Civic Center and 2nd Street. It's near the parking garage. The idea is to have the flashing beacon systems on these 2 corners so that pedestrians can cross the crosswalk here. When things were open, these 2 crosswalks were very busy, especially during farmers market. We're thinking of eliminating this crosswalk and funneling folks to this crosswalk. And people can then press a button and it will activate the beacons. And it's very visible and noticeable so that any traffic that is approaching this crosswalk will be alerted that there's somebody in the crosswalk, and they'll yield. So these markings will stay, the yield markings here. The other intersection is here at Orchard City Drive and 2nd Street. The issue here is there's a curve of the road. Somebody's stepping off this corner, northwest corner. It's very difficult for motorists to see pedestrian and vice versa. We're planning to put in a spot island here to extend this stripe taper further upstream so to get people moving over earlier. with the island and the beacons out in the island, a person will press a button in the sidewalk area, and then the beacons will flash, and there will be an advanced beacon on the street light pole here, so that motorists coming around the corner will be able to see and be alerted that there's somebody in the crosswalk. We're going to eliminate this crosswalk on the east leg, and this installation will occur the island and in the installation of
Yes.
the flashing beacons will be part of a paving project that will be constructed this summer. Okay, so the design has been completed. The installation at this intersection can happen at any time, but we're thinking of holding off until, actually we could do it at any time. So I'll just leave it at that. Does anybody have any questions about the flashing beacon systems?
Matthew, was this part of that plan? The bike box was all part of too? The Tipsy?
It is mentioned as part of the study, that's true.
Or it was part of the study?
Yes.
And this is, and okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the next project is the Campbell Park bike pathway. Fred, would you like to report on that?
Yes, last time we were here and we brought an exhibit to share with you all that shows a project, is a maintenance project actually that we're planning, and we took in a lot of all of your comments, and we refined the exhibit, and so let me share that with you if I can find it.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So at the last meeting, there seemed to be a little bit of a confusion whether it was going to be bikes only or bikes and pedestrian. So if you could clarify that, because it seemed like there was kind of back and forth on thoughts of what it was actually going to be.
Right. Hold on a second. Give me a sec here if I can get to the. There we go. Yes, unfortunately, during the development of initially the project, there's a little bit of confusion too, especially now that the project is kind of stuck. But really, this path is in a way no different than all the other path that we have. It's a multi-use path, so it's not a bike dedicated path. And so that's kind of how we're approaching this. Last time, again, just to orient ourselves, Gilman is on top. And so north is pointing to your right. Campbell is toward the right here. This footprint that we show here, that you see, do you see my cursor roaming around a little bit?
Yes.
It is really the design plan, the plan for the Campbell Park Playground project. And so the darker gray area, this path, this is the path that our maintenance yard is going to be building next several weeks out. So I have to work out the schedule with them, and we'll come back to that. So one of the comment was taken in last time was that last time you made me remember that the original path comes down. Apologize, I don't have the. Let me see if I can get a drawing tool here. Might help a little bit. Okay. So the original path is here, and it kind of just goes straight through. And the playground project will be taking part of that existing path in order to extend its footprint. But what's remaining is that we're going to build a new path to kind of really focus the user in terms of where they're going. And so one of the things that we have to do, of course, is somehow connect the two paths. And so last time, the original concept has the fork a bit more, if I can maybe clean this a little bit. Come on. it's not working. So let me zoom in for you here. Might be a little better. So last time we were here. Oh, that didn't work. So last time we were here, the original concept had the path kind of forks out. It was pointed out that maybe that's not ideal, and so we've gone back. Really, the erase doesn't work at all. We've gone back and came up with.
Brett?
Yeah.
What if you press, is there like an undo button?
Yeah, it doesn't. But let me see if I can. Yeah, I can. Yeah, so that might be better. So what happens now is that the junction of the two paths is now more of a right angle. And you see the signs here at the northern end and also at the southern end. We still have to work on exactly what it look like, but the idea here is going to use using destination sign, meaning if someone's standing right here or biking is right here, and if their destination is the playground, the sign would probably have something like arrows pointing to playground versus to quick trail. So it's more destination oriented and direct people that way. The other thing that the other item that comment that was taken in last time was that the clearance between the edge of the new path and the proposed fencing that would separate, the picnic area and the new path. And so I'll scroll down here a little bit. And so this shows it where here's to the left of this
I think we might have bandwidth issues. Brett.
Might have
cross
lost
section
track.
is the new playground. Uh-oh. Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you're back. I think we lost you for about 30 seconds there.
Uh-oh. Okay. So let me just repeat. One of the comment taken in the last time was that anything adjacent to the new path needs to have certain clearance. And so one of the things that we are putting in is a fence separating the existing picnic area and the new path. And so this cross section is as if someone's standing on the path looking toward Campbell Avenue. So to the left is the very left, and it's not shown on this cross section, is the playground area. This dashed grayed out T's, these are the representation of the existing picnic table and benches. And here, this solid vertical line work here is the new fence that we're going to be putting in. And you can see here we're going to keep a 2.5 foot center to edge of the pathway. So I think last time we talked about really minimum we want 2 feet. So we're going to try to we're going to provide that here. The other element, the other comment that was talked about last time is, and it's a little bit small here, but this dashed line here is that new fence that I just talked about that we will be putting in. The original concept has some kind of, there's several openings, or one actually, maybe 2 openings along this fence. And also it was proposed to be kind of a shorter chain link fence. And so the comment then was, well, do we really have good visibility with that type of fencing? What about people or kids, particularly, that might be coming out and in these openings and present a challenge, a visibility challenge for bikes or pedestrians that's already on the path, right? So here we're going to be, instead of that kind of chain link fence, so first of all, we're eliminated the opening along the fence line. Secondly, we're going to use a split rail fence. So this basically pieces of wood, kind of like when you have a white picket fence, but except quite more setting appropriate wood chain link, wood split rail fence. If you're familiar with the Perp Pond on Winchester near Hacienda, that type of wood fencing is kind of what we're envisioning here. So hopefully that should provide the visibility and also kind of making sure anyone who wants to cross the path would have to go around and really be careful about what they do before they do it. And so those are the another element that pointed out to us was, well, how do we, even though this is not a bike path, how do we kind of help channelize the movement a little bit? And so we're going to be putting in a yellow stripe, dash stripe. That's going to be, I think, 9-foot gap and 3-foot yellow striping down the middle, just to have some kind of idea, guidance for people. And so the other change that we made too is last time, just as a concept, we were proposing an 8-foot wide path. We're going to do a 10-foot path. So that kind of adds to the clearance and the kind of the buffer zone and elbow rooms for everybody that's using the trail and around the path and in and around around the path. So anyways, these are the changes we made since last time that we were here, taking into your comments. And so timing wise, again, the intent is to have this path put in before the playground project actually takes over the construction site. And this path, this new path, will remain open during the playground construction timeframe. So that's the update, and welcome any comments and questions you may have.
So I heard two things that the BPAC should hear. One, to answer Carmen's question from last time. Todd was correct. They're both mixed use. The second thing is the signs will change. Instead of trying to brainstorm, well, this trail is for bikes, this one's not. No, we're going to change the message to say, if you want to go to the picnic area, follow this arrow one way. If you want to go to the creek trail, go the other way. So it's based on destination, not on what type of mode you're using.
I've got a question. What are the 4 boxes just south of where the picnic tables are? What is that?
Oh,
Yeah, what is that?
good question. That's actually going to be part of the playground project. Is going to put in some bike racks, so kind of that dedicated area so people can put their bikes there.
Okay. Just want to make
Thank you
sure.
for asking. Yes, thank you for asking.
Just make sure there's plenty of clearance to the trail. That's all I have.
Yeah. So we will. So once now that we have kind of finalized the path, we're gonna go back and talk to the playground guys and go, okay, you need to make some adjustment on that end.
Okay, good. No, it looks better. I like it.
Yeah, and seeing the I don't even know what you call it, but like the little bulb outer at the top where it's no longer coming in like a straight fork where you're funneling people up there. Yeah, that almost kind of, that change almost eliminates the need for the sign. I mean, I get that you want people like directed to the park, but now cyclists aren't going to get confused on which path they should use. So I almost feel like there's no need to include a sign there because it's so obvious that that's the route to the playground. So I like that change.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to add that I also like the changes. Just one question about the fence. The fence, it looks like it's just along like the picnic areas, and it doesn't really extend like the entire length of the path. And will there also be trees, like those circular items there? Are those trees there too?
Yeah, those are the existing trees. So
Okay.
we're planning. We're trying to make sure that we don't impact any of the existing mature trees that are out there unless we absolutely have to. The reason that the fence only goes along the existing picnic area is really what we're envisioning is, folks that are families or wherever that are actually using the playground and the picnic area. Those are the people that really might want to cross the path for whatever reason, and we want to again discourage that, right? Once you pass that area, there's really no place to congregate. right? So that's why the fence
Mm.
is only along that area.
Okay. Yeah, I think it looks really good.
Okay. All right. So again, thank you for your comments. And so what will happen here from now is we'll work with the maintenance yard crew and work out a schedule to see exactly when they can have this work done. And then once we have a good schedule, then we'll come back and report to you folks for your information. Okay. Thank you.
Well,
Sure.
the next item on the agenda is the Harriet Avenue Sidewalk project. What I heard from you earlier was that the 30% design is under review by staff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So there isn't much to discuss except we're in the process of designing and it's early in the process. And this is the portion of the older Harriet Avenue near Westmont High School, south of Westmont Avenue. Item 4D is the annual pavement maintenance project. That's the project where we were exploring putting in sharrows on West Latimer. And Fred, you'd mentioned what the project was scheduled for council's approval this past Tuesday.
Yes, so the council did approve that project to move forward to, rather authorized to bid that project out, and the project does contain that work that Matthew had mentioned about the 2nd Street and Orchard City Drive, the intersection or RFB improvements that's going in. We will be actually advertising starting next week, and the timeline would probably something like probably about May sometime. We hope to get the contractor out in the field and start doing work. This type of project typically takes, as a project, it takes a while because we have to do, first thing we have to do is all the concrete improvements first, like curb ramps and things like that we require to put in. And so, but the paving itself, the resurfacing itself will probably happen more toward June and July timeframe. So that's kind of what we anticipate.
And San Jose's on board as far as doing their portion of Latimer?
Yes, so that's another element that you may remember a while back we did mention that we are partnering with San Jose because they are paving their half of Latimer Avenue between San Tomas Aquino Road and toward the west, our city limit, which is it's kind of mid-block, just east of Michelle. Is it Michelle? Yeah. Michelle Drive, if you're familiar with that area. And so we own half the street and they don't own half the street there. And so we're partnering with them. They will pave the street. As part of that, I think that, I'm not saying, but there is a conversation still ongoing with San Jose about putting in sharrows. We made it clear to them that we intend to put in sharrows along that stretch. And they are kind of working out their end of it because I think there's other groups that has to be involved with their organization in terms of how and when to do certain type of things. But that work is happening. It will happen with this with their contract, which again, we haven't got an update yet, but we know that they have started their concrete work in preparation for their project. So kind of similar time frame. This point, I'm guessing somewhere between early summer is when things would start happening in terms of paving and final striping of Latimer Avenue.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Thanks a lot, Fred.
Sure.
It's very enlightening. Item 4E, the 1700 Dell Avenue. That's the bike entrance that we were talking about at Dell and Division. There hasn't been any news. We did provide feedback to our land development engineer, who in turn talked to the developer's civil engineer, but we haven't heard from them since. Okay, item F is TDA, it's a Transportation Development Act grant application. So every year we get an allocation of funding from the state. The state sales tax is 7.25%. From that 0.25% comes the TDA funds that are allocated to jurisdictions based on their population. And this year's allocation for the city of Campbell is $42,302. And those funds are used for pedestrian or bicycle related improvements. And recent projects that have been funded with this grant includes the Dell Avenue bike lanes and more recently this bike box at Campbell Railway. But each year we need to nominate how we're proposing to use the grants and include those ideas or concepts in a grant application and submit it to BTA. Due date is April 16th. So I'm going to share my screen again. You'll see a Word file. At the top, it says TDA project concepts. We had a laundry list of project concepts like this for last year's project. The reason why we have multiple concepts listed as one large project for the TDA funds, it's a lot easier than setting aside 5,000 for this concept, 5,000 for that concept. Rather, what a lot of agencies do is they submit a laundry list, and any of those concepts could be using those funds depending on what need is most pressing at the time. And so we've been doing this for years, and I'm going to go through, for Matt and Mark's sake, to become familiar with what projects we have going. So the first one was on last year's list too. It was the flashing beacon systems. And with this map, these are the two locations for the flashing beacon system. And this is the map that we would submit as part of our grant application. Last year's grant application included as part of this description the bike box, but since we finished that, I eliminated that from this description. We want the flexibility to be able to use these funds for if we want to install sharrows wherever, so we're not limited to a specific location. Also, there are times where we do get requests for retrofitting our existing traffic signals for ADA purposes. I believe all of our pedestrian push buttons in the city now are the 2-inch type of buttons that are easy to press. But if and when we receive requests like that, or for an audible pet signal from someone who's sight impaired, there is a funding source for that concept. If we want to read bike lanes anywhere or a bike box, we just wanted that flexibility to include this as part of being eligible for using the TDA funds. Santa Monica Road bike lanes. A couple of years ago, the city of San Jose approached us about a portion of Santa Monica Road. They had ideas of a road diet north of Campbell, And then they were going to conform to the existing conditions, I think around Hamilton Avenue. But we were exploring adding bike lanes on both sides of Santa Pasquina Road between our north city limits is near Latimer Avenue, and continuing that all the way down to Bucknell Road. And then this is our city limit. So this is probably the extent of what we have in Campbell on Santa Pasquina Road. And we believe we can squeeze in those bike lanes without, really it would be a striping project. So that's included.
I love that because the work that San Jose did north of Hamilton is fabulous. I mean, there was a huge improvement after they made those changes. So fully supportive of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's an elementary school or something over there, right? Or middle school, maybe in that vicinity near Latimer.
I think there's a Latimer School.
Oh, okay. Titled that. All right. So yeah.
Okay. The next item is Bascom Avenue and Campbell Avenue bike lanes. We did receive some developer fees to install green bike lanes adjacent to the prune yard. And what we're thinking eventually, I mean, it may or may not be part of this grant allocation, but is to convert the striped shoulders that we have which currently has a white edge line, convert them to bike lanes on Bascom between Hamilton and tell you the truth, it could go all the way down to a little bit past Apricot Avenue to our South City limit. But the portion that at least is funded with developer fees from the prune yard includes portion next to the prune yard. So it's Campbell Avenue and then Bascom Avenue. I might modify this map. We talked about Harriet Avenue sidewalks, but I'll show you what I was trying to describe. Westmont High School is towards the southwest portion of the city, and it's this portion, some people call it Old Harriet Avenue. It's very narrow in some places and is missing sidewalk, especially on the west side of the street. And that's the side of the street that we'll be installing sidewalk. Fred just described Campbell Park pathway. This item kind of came up recently. It doesn't show up on our map yet, but I can show you where it is. It's the intersection of Winchester and Camden. There's an issue there. I'm gonna go to Google Street View. Right here, by the way, oh, this is old. It doesn't show our bike lane going through here, but this corner it's kind of questionable. We've been approached by VTA for a different purpose. It was addressing where vehicles should stop ahead of this railroad gate that descends. And so when we were approached by VTA about that concern, we also looked here in that it's kind of odd. It's an odd design, having a crosswalk go right into railroad tracks. So it's not really clear what will be required, because as we move along with addressing VTA's concern, the California Public Utilities Commissions, the PUC, will become involved, and they have authority over at-grade crossings, and we will hear from them what they feel needs to be done to upgrade this corner. So it's kind of a pedestrian issue as well. So I just wanted to include that concept just in case. We're approaching, well, we have asked VTA, they had some recommendations, and they had mentioned a similar kind of project they had in Sunnyvale. And for that project, they took the lead in installing the improvements. So we're hoping that VTA can take the lead on this one as well, but it's no guarantee. And that's why we wanted to at least set aside the TDA funds in case there's a need for funding. And the final item that we have, and realizing that it's only $42,000, so there's no way that every single one of these items are going to be funded. But it's next year's street maintenance project, and it includes that West Latimer Avenue portion that we were talking about, is from Santa Masaquina Road up to a point is San Jose's on the north side and Campbell's on the south side. And then from this point all the way to Darrell Drive is both directions is in Campbell. And so that maintenance project is up here. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything to ask about the project list?
It'd be nice if those bike lane improvements could continue on Bascom all the way to Dry Creek. That would be really excellent. But I don't know if that's possible.
Okay.
And I was just curious if there's any plan to address the sidewalk over near the Garrett. What is that? Campese and Creekside, where it's like sunken about 5 feet. So I was just curious what's going on with that.
I'm gonna ask Todd if he could jump in. It's a problem. It really is a problem. Apparently the street was built on landfill, and so it's always been sinking, and I'm not sure what it would take, aside from rebuilding the street on a bridge, or maybe Fred could answer that as well.
I'll jump in first, and then I'm sure Fred can help correct me at some point. So as Matthew said, that is essentially a closed landfill site, right? And so we've had some pretty significant issues with the roadway section of Campese over the years. And if you can recall back a few years, the end of Campese that's maybe a little closer to the prune yard had a pretty significant dip in it a few years ago. And we actually went in there and did some reconstruction of the asphalt section to match the concrete section, because there's supposed to be kind of a smoother transition there. So we were able to kind of take care of the roadway section. And you will note that as you get closer on Campese to Creekside, that section of roadway is essentially built as a bridge. So that's why that section doesn't really sink anymore, because it's essentially a concrete deck. Unfortunately, well, fortunately first, the sidewalk on the south side of that was really constructed as part of that bridge deck. So that one really is not sinking to any great extent. The stuff that's on the north side there, that follows the outside of that curve, so to speak, is not. And so what you're finding out there is that everything that is not part of that bridge deck is really sinking. I mean, the parking lot in that what's currently shown there as the Stewart Title Company building. There's that sidewalk on the other side that I was talking about first. That's fine, but this is the section in question. We're actually working separately with the property owner on some interest they have in actually reconstructing their parking lot, because if you look at, it's not just our sidewalk, but it's their parking lot as well. That's really, up and down all over the place. And cars, I think, have difficulty actually getting in and out of the parking lot because there's such a drastic drop off with that driveway. And if we can work with them and maybe do our sidewalk in conjunction with them doing a parking lot project, that might be the best solution for all of us, because then we're not working separately. So you obviously can see that in the interim, we've closed off that section, and we put in a mid-block flashing beacon to really get you off of this one side and have you walk on the side that's a little more stable. We know that at some point, the sections of this that are not on the deck are really going to have to be reconstructed, and we know that that's looming out there. But our hope is that in the shorter term, we can continue to work with that property owner, and as they do their parking lot project, we can kind of dovetail on that with the sidewalk replacement project. So I will now actually call on Fred to correct me with any factual information.
No, there's no correction needed. Maybe just a little bit of a tidbit that the challenge there is when you have this kind of situation is that the more weight we put on it, the more it shrinks, sink. So it's really tricky to come up with a solution that not only will address the problem, but is actually feasible in terms of finding the money and so forth to do it. So that's why it's a bit tricky, and also have to make sure that timing wise, if we go in too early and then fix our problem, but leaving the private property have no access back on the street, or vice versa. So there's a lot of coordination, there's a lot of planning and eventually designing to try to solve this problem.
I would also add that if this property, hypothetically, we're going to come in and redevelop, like we've had properties across the city that were former, strip malls, and they come in for development as mixed use project. It's very typical to put the street frontage improvements as a condition of development when something new is going in. And if that were the case, we'd actually kind of have an easier fix here. This is actually more difficult because there is no real development application coming in for this property. This property owner just really wants to, repair their poor condition parking lots. They're not required to, but because they're kind of taking the proactive step, we've got our land development section, really working with them in tandem. So I think for both the city's sake and for the property owner's sake, if we can do something in coordination, we'll both get better value. In the event, though, I will add that in the event that the property owner maybe changes their mind or doesn't move forward, we know that we're going to have to still find a solution with the sidewalk. We're just trying to see if we could take advantage of this opportunity to work together with the property owner.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Sounds very expensive.
I'm glad you mentioned it. That's something we need to keep on our radar.
Hey, Matthew, also, isn't there the Bascom plan for the bicycle? And improvements. Is that done? Is that whole plan done? Because I don't think Matt knows about, maybe he doesn't know about the plan or the other members.
What I can do, I can send a link, whatever link I could find of the VTA's Bascom Complete Street Study. And it's good that you should mention that. It's something that has crossed my mind. Even when we do install the bike lanes on Bascom Avenue, it would be good to install them in such a way that what changes we install are, for lack of a better word, sustainable, meaning it'll be adaptable to whatever happens when we migrate to implement the Bascom Avenue Complete Street Study. So that's crossed my mind is, I don't just want to plop in a bike lane and then whatever we put in, we have to tear out again when we want to put in the Complete Street Study improvements. But let me jot that down.
So to your knowledge, has the study been completed? And that was by the VTA?
I believe it has been.
Yeah, okay.
And if
I mean, that's been a while.
right.
Yeah, if I could jump in also, it's been completed. And for those of you who don't know, the Bascom Avenue Complete Street Study wasn't just looking at Campbell, it was looking at the entire stretch of Bascom all the way up to Highway 880 on the north and Highway 85 on the south. So it really goes through San Jose, through County of Santa Clara unincorporated, and then Campbell, and then repeat as necessary as you kind of traverse down the line. And so, and it was split into a variety of segments, something like 7 or 8 segments. And I will say that the Campbell segment was largely kind of of the existing conditions is kind of the more successful of the existing conditions, because we've got some fairly well-defined roadways and median islands and a fair amount of signalized crossings, unlike some of the San Jose and county, that are less developed areas out there. So the changes being recommended in the Campbell stretch are not maybe as significant as what you see elsewhere, but it does certainly call for a more continued and uniform approach to both bike and ped facilities along the way. And so I think what you hear Matthew saying is that whatever we do, we want to have some consistency with that. We'll do the best we can without additional right of way or turning this into a large scale capital project, because I think that we can certainly move forward with the bike lane type improvements as was shown on the TDA map. But we will get you these links as well, because then if you have the chance, you'll know a little more background about what the effort was.
So in order for us to apply for the TDA grant, we need the BPAC's approval of the list of project concepts to be included as part of the application as the project description. So does anybody have any other questions first? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion approving the project concept list?
Sure, I'll make a motion. Let's approve the TDA project list for TDA funding
Sure.
as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
It's unanimous. Item number 6 is the mayor's commission's collaborative. Just FYI, we did submit the work plan to our city manager, and he was going to collect all the other work plans from the other commissions in the city and summarize it for the mayor. So your feedback was incorporated. Item 7 is the VTA BPAC update. Carmen?
Yeah, I don't really have too much to report. One of the things they brought up is that May is Bike Month. And even though a lot of people aren't back to work as normal, I think May 21st is Bike to Wherever Day. And they were just kind of wondering if they put it out to the group, if any of the cities had any special plans. I don't know that we do, but I thought I'd bring it up. But other than that, there's not much to report from the BTA.
Okay. They're still meeting.
Oh yes, monthly. Yep,
Okay.
we're meeting monthly.
Thanks for attending on our behalf.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, item 8.
Yeah, so Matthew.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so in the past, I've worked at some of the, normally for the back to work days, they set up these little stations all over the valley for bicyclists, and they're along popular bike routes typically, and for bicyclists to stop, and they have refreshments for them and hand out maps, bicycle route maps, and various kind of things like that. So it's trying to encourage. The point of it is to encourage people to take biking as a means of transportation. The Barracuda Networks used to have one of those outside their property there on Winchester, typically. That was the only one I knew about close here. If we wanted to have such a thing someplace in Campbell, if we thought there was a place in Campbell where we wanted to have such a thing, we could, and I'd be happy to work there, and I could volunteer with the organization. They will provide materials and stuff, and we just need a couple of volunteers and a card table to be out there and hand out the materials. And then it's something you can advertise. Then you could the city could advertise it on the city whatever things, community center things and stuff like that, if we were interested in that.
So I think I've gotten some information from the SVBC. They haven't posted a map, but I think they are thinking about having some stations throughout the valley, but I didn't see a map posted for this year. I'm not sure if they were calling for volunteers, but I guess if anybody's interested, you could go to the SVBC, Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition website. They might be doing something that we could volunteer for.
Okay. I can check. I think they call them energy stations or something like that.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's what
Energize. I think it's got Energized Station, something like
Okay. Okay, I'll try to see if they're actively setting up something like that. Frankly, I don't remember last year hearing anything about it.
Yeah, Campbell Park might be a good place to have one right there, next to the Creek Trail, which is a pretty major thoroughfare for people biking to work at normal times. Again, I don't know what they're going to be doing this year yet.
Yeah, I think in the past too, we did have a hard time finding somebody, enough folks to volunteer, because the hours were kind of early to catch the commuter bicycles. So, but anyway, we can at least look to see what is being planned this year. Okay. Around the table, comments or discussion. Does anybody have anything? All right. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 20th, Thursday, 5 p.m. We had a lot of good feedback tonight. Thank you very much. But there's nothing to add. I guess we can adjourn the meeting.
All right. See everybody next time.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.